Hardie siding does require caulk. One of the misses that I see sometimes is that contractors that don't work with Hardie very often, if you're doing HardiePlank siding, it comes in 12-foot pieces. So if you envision a big wall of a house, there's going to be some seams. Now we tend to stagger the seams every other stud so you don't get this kind of stair-step look going up the house. But I've seen where contractors will actually caulk those seams that are out in the middle of the wall, and that is a huge no-no. The idea is we're using factory edge to factory edge in the middle of the wall with color-matched flashing behind it, as well as the weather barrier behind that. So the only real areas that get caulking with James Hardie are where the siding meets the corner trim and along the top of the areas where it meets the soffit. There shouldn't be tons and tons of caulk being used on a Hardie project, specifically not at the seams. One, because you're creating a big time maintenance cycle that's gonna happen down the road, as well as I think it's just gonna look ugly. Because Hardie doesn't expand or contract, we're able to butt those seams pretty tight. And then, like I said, we stagger the seams every other stud, so you end up getting a pretty seamless look. And then we make sure to only caulk in the areas that are required to caulk. Yeah, obviously, James Hardie, part of their installation best practices requires the caulking to be applied where the siding meets the corners, where the siding meets the soffit, fascia, etc. Let's say the caulk was not done at all. Now, you'd have quite a while of protection because you'd have your weather barrier behind that, right? But eventually you would start to get moisture back behind it, and it may start to cause some problems. The board itself may deteriorate a little bit because typically on the corners is where you're putting those cut pieces of Hardie. Even though we run touch-up paint over those cut edges before they get caulked over, it still leaves it exposed. And so I wouldn't worry about it for a day, but if it's 6 months to a year, you're gonna start getting some water infiltration, and that's not a good sign at all.